in for 2020 Nation. This is season 4, episode 9 with Zach and I. For this episode, we'll be going through our usual routine of recapping the game that happened this past week, and that is the gruesome watch of Texas versus Kentucky. We'll be breaking down that game and talk about the atrocities that we're seeing on offense and to our football players. So we'll be talking about that. We also got Mississippi State this week, so we'll be previewing that game, as well as talking about other sports on the 40 acres. And, of course, we'll be recapping the episode with Week 9 picks against the spread, where Zach and I give our 3 best picks of the week and hopefully make y'all a little bit of money. But, Zach, how's your week going so far? Have you mentally recovered from the Kentucky game yet?
That was a tough watch, AJ. That ranks up there with I would say Kansas this weekend, which marked the end of another head coaching era. That was probably up there with the worst of worst.
Yeah. I mean that. I'm trying to figure out like which is still the worst performance offensively, the UTEP game or Kentucky game, and I think just due to the stakes of where this team is at, the Kentucky game was a huge letdown. But other than that, did you have a good week back?
Yeah, AJ, got to step away, went to enjoy some time out in the Texas Hill Country, some time in a hot tub, grilling out in the wild. So yeah, it was a good weekend. That's what offsets the poor performance against Kentucky. But yeah, it was a good, relaxing weekend. How was yours?
Nice. Yeah, it was a pretty chill weekend too. I watched football all day, Saturday and Sunday. Don't get very many weekends like that. And when I say that, I mean like rot on the couch and do nothing, and occasionally get up to use the restroom. But yeah, that's kind of like where my weekend was, and I had a great time. Alrighty then. So let's go ahead and dive right into the episode, Zach. Let's get into this Kentucky game mishap. So Texas ends up squealing away with a 13-12 win over the Kentucky Wildcats. The Wildcats still continue on their SEC losing streak. Texas still remains alive for the college football playoff and SEC championship. Of course, there's a lot of caveats to that. We don't know where exactly this team is at following this past weekend's game, but we were able to escape Lexington with the win, and once again just keep our playoff hopes alive. So Zach, let's just get into it. I mean, we know the score. We know Arch Manning didn't play well, but what really was the problem here in this game? And we're riding off a big high after the OU game. It seems like everything's fixed. It seems like we just have to keep on keeping on. But that wasn't the case this past weekend. It seems like there was a lot of regression.
Yeah, I think regression is the best word to go ahead and summarize what we saw this weekend against Kentucky. I know there's a lot of coaching out there on the internet saying it's never easy to travel into Kentucky. It's never easy to play an SEC opponent on the road at night. At the end of the day, it was bad. It was as worse as it gets. And again, AJ, in terms of regression, it started with the offensive line. There was just no complimentary football on the offensive end. We could not run the ball, which prevented us from passing the ball, prevented us from playing any play action. And we know Sark, it's that his offense is developed around play action. His offense is, I've said it multiple times this season, is developed around long progressing routes that take time to develop. And again, against Kentucky, there was just no time whatsoever. On top of that, there was regression from Arch Manning. And I know everybody can say he can only do so much after getting hit so much, after being in pressure, all his mechanics go to waste. At the end of the day, he just needs to be better. It was a sloppy performance multiple times, just overthrowing receivers, sailing balls, his arm slot dropping. The mechanics were just out the window. And I personally thought this was the worst game that we saw. And I know you set that up there, but this is definitely the worst game we've seen out of Arch this year.
but this is definitely the worst thing I've seen on this year. Yeah, and quick, my apologies. I said 13-12 score. That was actually Kentucky's score last year against Georgia. And that was the season Georgia made the SEC championship. So got a little bit confused there. Texas did win 16-13 with an overtime kick from Mason Shipley. So apologies for that. Had to correct myself there. But yeah, I mean, Arch Manning, I thought the game started out okay. You know, he was making some throws out of routine, kind of scrambled a little bit, off-platform throws. He was able to do that. He was using his legs a lot, which I thought was going to be a preview to the rest of the game. But, yeah, that didn't happen. Once again, just a very poor performance from the O-line. I believe Arch Manning has already been hit 60 times this season, and that totals out to all the amount of times Quinn Ewers got hit last season. So if you're using the math, using logistics there, not a good metric to look at for our training. And yeah, if you also look at the O-line PFF grades, these are among some of the worst numbers. DJ Campbell seemed to have the best O-line performance per PFF in the high 80s. However, there is a very, very low floor to that, and that is Nick Brooks, who scored a 14.1 per PFF score. And this takes into account pretty much a lot of metrics, Zach. You have run blocking, pass blocking, obviously not getting any penalties called on you, false starts. We all know those statutes, but yeah, it was the numbers for PFF didn't lie. Nick Brooks, I can't believe how much he regressed given the improvement that we saw from the OU game. But yeah, he seemed to have been one of the weakest links this past Saturday. On top of that, Cole Hudson, who was ruled out before the game, and whenever you whenever you take out a player that's in the starting lineup and you kind of switch up the offensive line, I mean, that hurts that in my opinion hurts the unit in general. And given that Nick Brooks lines up right next to Cole Hudson, you could tell that something was off the entire game. So yeah, it was just really, really tough to watch this unit not really progress. Let's see, what else do we have here? Arch Manning. One stat I did want to mention, Zach, was that last year he had a time to throw of 2.74 seconds per pass attempt. So he was a very quick player, very fast paced, liked to operate in that level. But now that number has dropped, or that number has gotten slower to 3.08 seconds this year. And I wanted to mention that because that kind of tells a lot of the story of, in my opinion, about the kind of offensive play calling that we have for this team. So, Arch Manning, coming out of high school, even some of the games last year, he liked to get the ball quick out of his hands, didn't really like any long developing plays. And that's just, the quick arm release, the ability to read the defense quick because of his IQ. That's where he really thrived. And now seeing this number kind of drop this year, and you would think to yourself, why is this number dropping? I thought the O-line got worse. Players are getting quicker to him. And while that is correct, it's still going on the pass throws where he's taking a little bit longer than 3 seconds to make a throw. And that can really skew these things a lot, especially in this sense. So he's getting hit a lot. He's also making a lot of throws that take longer to develop. And yeah, this can be attributed to two things, and that is obviously the offensive line and the coaching that goes behind the offensive line. Not being able to develop our guys into playing together as a unit. I think we're kind of seeing that. And also the play calling. We're seeing a lot of, long developing plays, a lot of long throws, which we know this team is more than capable of doing. However, we have an offensive line that kind of breaks down, causes Arch Manning to struggle, escape pocket a little bit. It's hurting those kinds of plays and not allowing them to develop to what we need. So, yeah, it can be It can be diagnosed a few different ways, but after seeing those numbers, Zach, I think that's kind of where I land on this. Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, are you?
Are you?
So
Can you speak?
I can't. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What's it called? I like to keep it going up until the 10-minute mark. So since the 10-minute mark, I don't know if you're able to see the timestamp,
Mhm.
but I was just talking about the offensive line. We can restart the whole episode if you want. Doesn't matter.